Hi guys, Matt Lemke here with Gamer Goggles, gamer-goggles.com, and today we're going to do a flip through of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons Guildmasters Guide to Ravnica. Be right back. Alright, we'd like to start off by saying this is not a paid review in any form or fashion. I actually picked this book up. I traded some Magic cards in for it, largely because I'm a Magic player and I really wanted to take a look at what Dungeons & Dragons has done for Magic the Gathering, or how they interpreted Magic the Gathering into a Dungeons & Dragons game world. Now, with that said, I'm doing this a little bit different than I normally do. Normally I film from top down. I've had some requests that more people want to see my face when I do this kind of thing. So I'm going to try it out. Please comment below and let me know what you think. I'm going to try and show you as much cool stuff from the book as I can. In fact, I'm going to try and zoom out just a little bit. And I can't. Apparently I'm too close. So I'll sit back here as much as I can, and I'll come in with pictures. Maybe I'll get some pictures and take some stills too. But anyway, with that said, so we already know, because I blurted it out, that this is set in a Magic the Gathering expansion block. Well, actually, it's set in between expansion blocks. Real quick history. Ravnica is a planet that is an entire city, and it's divided into districts. This takes place in the 10th district, shortly after the first expansion block, popularly known as Magic the Gathering. I'm not exactly sure where it falls, like a year after, but to bring things up to bring you up to par or speed on the storyline. So the story is that there are tons of guilds within the world of Ravnica, and basically the guilds over time struggle and strife and fight and have war, whatever you want to call it, with each other. And there was this thing called the Guild Pact that was created. It's a magical contract or a magical treaty that basically kept things in balance of power. The Magic the Gathering expansion, Ravnica, pretty much was about the destruction of that pact and its basically rebirth through Jace, who is now the living Guild Pact. And this takes place in the 10th district, which is one of the most important districts of Ravnica, if not the most. And it's really cool that this whole book is considered one small part of the world, right? Ravnica's super advanced for a fantasy world. It's got plumbing, elevators, all kinds of things of that nature. Some of them are magically inclined, and actually it's a magic-heavy world, and they did a good job balancing it. So what does Ravnica do for us? Well, one of the things it does for us is it gives us 5 new races. And those races are, well, here's a few of them. Well, here's one of them. There's a good picture of a Loxodon there. And basically they encourage you really to choose a guild, one of the 10 guilds. I think it's 10 guilds. Yeah, 10 guilds. And there's the goblins. There's Loxodon again. And we have Simic hybrids and Minotaurs. And we'll come back and we'll touch upon them a little bit. Now, some of you might be like, oh, well, they've already done some of these races in other books. These races are reworked to fit the flavor of Ravnica. And I also think, from what I've heard, I've never actually looked at the Minotaur. I believe the Minotaur in here is much tighter, a much tighter creation than the other one. It leaves less room for it gives more flavor. Anyway, what else does this book do for you? 2 new subclasses, which we're going to only talk about briefly because we don't need to spoil them, and some new items. The type of items that if you're a Magic player you would already be familiar with, like the Azorius Talisman, one of the different guilds' talismans. Every guild has a talisman, and in Magic the Gathering every guild is based off of X number of colors. And then they even have, like in the beginning of the book, there's a little chapter on choosing your guild and how to do it for your character and what they can do. And so I'm getting ahead of myself. We're going to go back to the races. they're totally new, as I mentioned before. And they add new elements to the game. For example, the Loxodon, which is an elephant. Let me find him again for you, so you can have a good picture of him in your mind. Oop, that's the Minotaur. The Loxodon has a trunk, right? You can see that right there. Oops, right here. And he actually can use that as an extra appendage without penalty. So he can use it as, if he's a monk, he can use it to strike. If he is a warrior, he could use it to hold a sword or pick stuff up if he's a thief. I don't know if you could pickpocket with it, so to speak, or do sleight of hand type of things with it. But that would be kind of interesting to find out. And then the Minotaur has things like Gore Rush and the horns built into the race. Obviously, all the races, you know, they bring things just like every other race. They have their ability score increase, suggested alignment, speed, and things of that nature, and, you know, names and subclasses for what to do with them. One of the nicer things in this book is well, actually, before we get too much farther, they do kind of give you a class breakdown by guild as to what better reflects the guild's flavor. But then they present 2 class options to you, or subclass options to you, and they did a couple of things here. What I want to touch on with the Cleric of the Domain, which I'm not sure there's a good picture for Cleric of the Domain. Yeah, I guess. We have, on this page, we actually have the Cleric of the Domain and the Druid, who has the Circle of Spores. And, well, the Cleric of the Domain, it basically, if you cast, or you can use your Voice of Authority to compel allies to attack as a reaction to the spell being cast, which I thought was really cool. And then Circle of Spores does, what do they do? Well, the Spore Cloud is now considered necrotic, which kind of is a huge step up, so at higher levels it's more effective. And then the most important part of the book is really the guilds. And guilds do a lot of different things for you. They do a lot of different, bring a lot of different flavor to this game world. And I have been working on my own game world for a long, long time, and it was really nice to see that Wizards of the Coast did such a good job with the guilds. In a way, I'm putting a feather in my cap, even though I haven't published it yet. But I have paralleled a lot of what they have done, with obvious differences in flavor, because my game world doesn't have a lot of magic. Which brings us to one of the first things that the guilds do. They allow, they add to the spell list of the player character. So if you join a guild, where is it actually? Maybe I can just find one real quick. If you join a guild, there we go, Azorius guild spells. So they have 5 levels of spells that are added on top of your current spell list. And those spells are, there's 2 cantrips, Friends and Message, Command and Ensnaring Strike at first level, Arcane Lock, Calm Emotions, Hold Person, then Clairvoyance and Counterspell at 3rd, followed by Compulsion and Divination at Divination at 4th level, and 5th level you have the ability to access Dominate Person. Again, these are in addition to the spells that you already know. Guilds also, I didn't do a little bullet point. Guilds also give you extra character abilities. I must be tired. They give you extra skills that you can grab onto and use. On top of that, you can. It's unlike a lot of guilds, like, for example, in a computer game, I used to play a lot of Elder Scrolls. Guilds didn't seem to do much for you. They were like a big bank, which you can do here. You can bank. And you can gain renown. And as you gain renown, you gain, not responsibilities, but you gain privileges. Some of the guilds, when you get up to a high enough level, you actually have undead that serve you. Or different different things. Now there's also, like, the guilds will also bring suggested characteristics for your character, so you have different bonds and flaws that you can add. And now, with that said, most of the book is about the guilds, because that is a super, super important part to the Magic Gathering world of Ravnica. More important than, I would say, your traditional D&D setting. Now, where this book lacks a little bit, there's not a lot of adventures, but, is this it? Let's see. Every house, I just saw House of Demir, which is one of the guilds. Every guild has different sections that have been mapped out like this for important elements to give the guild's flavor. Every guild has probably 6 to 10 pages written on it. Here is, like, and they really do a lot of different things for flavor. For example, Gruul clans. You can see a good picture of what the Gruul clans are there. They're largely your orcs, your goblin type races. Here is an example of the Rubelet encampment, just to give you an idea of the differences in styles of flavor. Here is a lab for a different experimental workshop. Now this book is largely, and I do mean largely, the fluff of Ravnica and the story and the elements for guilds that you need to create your own game. I think there is an adventure in here. I do not remember it. Remember how big of an adventure it is. I'll check the table of contents. But there's also a treasure section, and one of the things, like I said before, Ravnica was technologically advanced, so there are a lot of different types of things. I was kind of surprised that you didn't see some kind of artificer in here. That does surprise me. I mean, there really wasn't one in Magic from what I remember playing it, but I mean, there were mages like this guy who kind of look like they tinker a lot and play with artifacts. And that's the other thing I didn't see a lot of, that I kind of thought there might be more hints or allusions to artifacts within this, rather than just, like, we call them magic items. But I think I would have liked to have seen that as flavor. And then Friends and Foes. This is another big part of this. Part of the whole thing with the Guild Pact, or the Ravnica's Masters, the Guildmasters Guide to Ravnica, is the fact that there's a lot of room for you to role play, and you do things like as you join a guild and you progress upward in the ranks, you gain more contacts and more people you know. That is one of the key points of this, and there's a whole chapter on breaking down friends and foes. Like, you can have renown that affects other guilds, and they can actually start to hunt you as a character, so a GM can use that to his benefit. And there's a whole section on monsters. It's not really a bestiary, so to speak, as it is. I mean, it is, but I mean, it's really more of a supplement to what you would expect from Magic the Gathering. Like, here's a Firemane Angel. And one thing I will note here too is the art for these creatures and stuff is quite a bit different than what I remember the Magic art being. And I think that's a good thing. They stayed true to Dungeons and Dragons, as opposed to bringing Magic in and just kind of letting it be swamped. I'm actually very happy they did that. So, with that said, let's see. Check the table of contents real quick. First, the Guilds of Ravnica start on page 29, and then they end on page 93. So there's nearly 75 pages just about the guilds in a 253-page book. I thought there was an adventure. I do not see an adventure. That does not mean it's not here. I will check real quick to see if I was wrong about Friends and Foes chapter. There might be an adventure in there. No. One of the things that was neat about the bestiary, though, is that the creatures are broken down also by guilds that they might associate with. So who would buy this book? Again, I would buy this book because I'm absolutely amazed by the flavor and creativity that they managed to grab from both game worlds and combine. There is something in here for both players and GMs. This book is really for everyone, and I quite possibly think that this is maybe the best campaign setting. And I mean, I would call it a setting. It's not a full campaign setting because it's only one district. It's the 10th district. But I believe this is the best campaign setting for Dungeons and Dragons since Eberron. And Eberron is one of my favorite campaign settings of all time. Ravnica, I am so pleased with this book. You should go out and get it now. If you are a GM and you are struggling to build guilds, tap into this book just for ideas. Let your players visit it just so you can have a flavor. I mean, it's within the world of Magic the Gathering. There is no limit to what you can do. Oh, and there's tons and tons of references to Spelljammers in this book. Tons. You can't go wrong with this book. Players have great new races to play off of, 2 new subclasses, bunch of magic items to beg for, and GMs have a ton of ideas for their adventure. If you like political intrigue or just intrigue in general, this is a great way to capture it and be new and refreshed and get your brains churning. I cannot tell you how much I have worked on my personal campaign since I have picked up this book. Probably 7 or 8 hours a week. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Talk to you later. Like, subscribe, share. Hit the notification bell. Ding, ding. And again, let me know what you think of this style. I kind of think it's silly, but if you guys prefer my face over open pages, let me know. Bye. Hi, guys. Meet the Nibbles, who's gonna go down. She just decided not to go down my back, so we'll do this for her so she's comfy. Thanks for watching my video, and I appreciate it. Please hit the like button and share it if you know somebody who might be interested. And of course, there's always Twitter and the Facebook thingy, and soon I have a newsletter coming. That'll be down there or in a link below, and my kitty cat loves that idea. So anyway, there was one more thing. Oh yeah, subscribe. Be a part of my community, our community. Let's make it grow together. See you guys at a con somewhere, or a local store, or if I'm driving through the country, maybe a game club. I don't know, you're not going to go knock down my camera. Bye, guys.